Can I just ask you to be declarative about this? Will you say that the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, lied to the American people?
He did on the election, and we people around him know better. We know that the results were not going to be overturned. We knew that it was a stunt to carry this on for days longer. And I have to commend my former boss, Vice President Pence, who is a man of conviction and just the highest level of integrity. He did what his constitutional duty was. He wasn't going to rewrite the
Mhm.
Constitution to get the outcome that he wanted.
So, Alyssa, you quit the first week of December because you say it was then that you began to realize what might happen. And you do know that there are those asking this morning, what took you so long? What took you so long?
And that's fair. And something I want to be clear about is I believed in the policy agenda and much of what we accomplished, and I am proud of much of it. Creating the most inclusive economy in American history, record low Black unemployment, Hispanic unemployment, female unemployment. I'm somebody who believes in economic opportunity. And I was willing to serve. And I also believe anytime you're asked to serve your nation, you should seriously consider saying yes. But when I lost I knew I couldn't influence outcomes when this runaway train of the election was stolen got wind underneath it, and that's when it was time for me to step down. I wasn't going to mislead people. People I love, people I care about, were believing it. They were saying, "No, Alyssa, I think he's still going to pull it off." And I would plead with people personally and privately, like, please no, he's not going to. We lost the election, and that is okay. That is what happens in a democracy. Politics is cyclical. But this was bound. If you tell people their vote was stolen, so foundational to who
Mhm.
we are as a country, of course it's going to end in violence and in riots.
What
And it's awful.
do you ask yourself what more you could have done and sooner to prevent this?
Specific to the election issue, I just don't know. I was ready to go out after election day and say, look, there were incredible things we should be proud of. Record Hispanic turnout for Republicans, record Black turnout for Republicans, electing so many women to the House of Representatives, and say, this president never planned to be in Washington forever. He didn't win, but there's a lot we should be proud of in our agendas moving forward. But I was asked to stand down, and the message instead of the election was stolen is what won the day. And it's wrong. And the American people need to know you can trust your institutions, you can trust your vote. We didn't win because we just came up short, and that happens.
Would you feel safer this morning if President Trump resigned?
I think that it's something he should seriously consider. I don't think that when you've got just a number of days left, there's any need to carry on kind of the charade of an impeachment. The People's House needs to get back to work. We need to get aid to tens of millions of Americans. But I think Vice President Pence has stepped in as the real leader, getting the National Guard during this crisis that unfolded. And John, I would just say to you, I've traveled all over the world and I've spent time in democracies much more
Mhm.
fragile than ours. And what I saw in the Capitol is not representative of who America
Just to
is,
be clear,
and it should never.
you would feel safer today if President Trump resigned and Vice President Mike Pence took over?
I would.
Could you ever support Donald Trump again for election?
I wouldn't. And just candidly, there is a lot that he did right. There is a lot in the America First policy agenda that Republicans should hang on to. I want us to keep those votes of the 74 million people. I want us to build on the good of Donald Trump. But in a moment that called for leadership, that called for compassion, that calls for quick judgment to save lives, he came up short. He didn't make the right call.
To those who say to you, Alyssa Farah, you're doing this now because you want a job somewhere after this. You're doing this now to clean up your own reputation. You say,
Well, I have a job for one, but I stand by the positions I held in the White House, the public statements I made, the private counsel that I gave. My belief was always it's better to be in the room and try to influence outcomes for the better than to cede that position of authority to somebody who may not have the best interest of the country at heart, who may not have my values and convictions. I consider myself proud of my service. But I understand that for many people, we are hurting because of the direction that this president has taken us. And to them, I would extend it is time for us to rebuild as a party and as a country, to come together and to remember fundamentally there is more that unites us as Americans than that divides us.